Well, with flu season in full effect, the push for vaccination is really intense. But what they might not be telling you is you could be trading one danger for another. So we went undercover at two of the nation's top walk-in flu shot pharmacies to see what they had to say about the vaccine's safety and effectiveness.
Hello, hi. Where do you guys do flu shots?
Right over here.
I mean, do you think that it's like safe and effective, and even with all these other...
It's 50 to 70% effective against it. If you do get the flu, it'll be a lot less severe. We've had a tech that did get the shot, did come down with it, but it only took her like 2 days to bounce back.
As you can tell, things are deteriorating. Is there any advice you can give me?
Don't ever take a flu shot again. Now, I watched that night with Dr. Oz, and
We both saw him put that thing in my arm, and within 10 days, I've been struck down.
Have you had a flu shot this year?
No, I don't do that. I'm not going to get sick.
Well, see, the thing is, I got a flu shot and said I was not going to get sick, and I got sick.
That's why I don't need to get a flu shot.
So it's not 100% effective and may even cause the flu. But what do the pharmacists have to say about the thimerosal, which you'll find they were very careful to avoid calling it mercury? It's a preservative.
Is there mercury in the flu shot?
There is an extremely small amount, not anything that's dangerous, and it is preservative free.
Why do they put that in there? I don't understand the thimerosal.
The vials, the preservative free are drawn up individually, so it's more expensive. The vials, they can do one vial, so you can buy it at a cheaper price. The amount of preservative is less than a can of tuna. So if you look at it that way, it's really not significant.
So as long as you're not getting a bunch of shots.
Yeah, at one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Studies show that most pregnant women should avoid eating canned tuna, though, so this really wasn't sitting easy with me. So I wanted to see what she would say if I introduced pregnancy into the equation. Would she warn me of potential dangers?
Okay. I'm not pregnant now, but I'm trying to be. Is that an
They
issue,
recommend
or?
that the pregnant women get the flu shot. They actually had one death of a pregnant woman last week, and she hadn't had the shot.
Because here I was reading that it's highly recommended for them to get it.
Yeah.
So
Every OB said to get it.
Okay.
I mean, because if they come down with the flu, they can hardly treat them, and so.
So this shot with the...
So they're extremely propelling right now in Texas for pregnant women to get the shot right now.
Wow. Even the one with mercury in it?
Both places administer Fluzone, which contains 3 influenza strains recommended for this flu season, including the 2009 H1N1. Surprisingly, Fluzone's own patient information sheet says that animal studies haven't been conducted with Fluzone. In fact, it says it is not known whether Fluzone can cause fetal harm when given to a pregnant woman or if it can affect reproduction capacity. So an untested flu vaccine is being recommended for pregnant women and those who are trying to get pregnant. Fluzone should be given to a pregnant woman only if clearly needed. According to the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, reports of fetal demise during the 2009 H1N1 season increased by 4,250%. And a study published in 2012 exposes an insane failed experiment on pregnant women during the 2009 flu season. Dr. Gary Goldman's study, published in the Human and Environmental Toxicology Journal, points out an astounding fact that no one saw until the publishing of the Goldman study. The CDC had recommended the double dosing of the pregnant population with the seasonal flu vaccine with mercury and the untested H1N1 vaccine with mercury. He highlights the fact that the safety and effectiveness of the H1N1 had never been established in pregnant women, and that the combination of 2 different influenza vaccines had never been tested on pregnant women at all. And if you ask for the vaccination package insert like we recommend, you'll find that the warning is still there. It hasn't been tested on fetal development or reproduction.
The only one that pregnant women can't get is the live virus one that is the mist into the nose.
Oh.
Yeah, the pregnant women have to avoid all live viruses, but the inactivated ones, which most of them do contain mercury, are safe.
And while the increase in vaccinations is wiping out some viruses, new superbugs are popping up to replace them.
You know, you can't fool Mother Nature. And as you start to eliminate certain bacteria by the vaccines, other bacteria and viruses fill in the gap.
Okay, so what do you have to say about this thing where it says, like, if I get the flu shot, it can increase my chances of getting a different kind of flu?
For example, they have now shown and discovered in research articles that the pertussis vaccine, which has been eliminating the pertussis bacteria, and we've been seeing the increased rates of pertussis going up. They've been trying to figure out why that is. Well, there was an article that came out a couple of weeks ago that said that because the pertussis vaccine eliminates the Bordetella pertussis bacteria, it has created a gap in which another bacteria called Bordetella parapertussis is filling in the gap. And now that they're finding that that bacteria may have, that Bordetella parapertussis may have increased more than 40 times in these children that have had a pertussis vaccine. So now they are developing whooping cough or symptoms that look like whooping cough, but maybe not quite as severe as whooping cough. And they're finding that it's being caused by this new bacteria called parapertussis. And I think that's happening with all of the Prevnar vaccines for strep. It's certainly happened for Hib, that as we eliminated Haemophilus influenza B, there are more strains of that bacteria falling in the gap that are more stronger and more virulent.
So why on earth are they pushing these untested vaccines that are at best 70% effective against some viruses and at worst are creating new superbugs?
When I started into this back in September of 2000, the vaccine industry was about a $10 billion a year industry. Now it's in the 30 to 60 billion. Some of the vaccines are making 5 to 10 billion on their own.
The point is, all vaccines come with risks. So unless you want to be a paying beta tester for Big Pharma's failed experiments, research the dangers for yourself, decide if it's right for you, because even well-meaning healthcare practitioners might not have all the facts.
Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
See the rest of the nightly news at our sister YouTube channel, The Info Warrior, or become a member of PrisonPlanet.tv and help us take the message of freedom and liberty to the next level. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to this channel.
A 3-year-old Aisley McCarthy was buried today in Elkhorn. Her family tells me she died Monday morning at Blank Children's Hospital in Des Moines, not even 48 hours after she started showing flu-like symptoms.
Hey guys, Rob Dew here for Infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News, and here's a story that I wanted to share with you, and I want you to get this out to anybody you know, especially if someone you know out there is thinking about getting the flu shot. Family's devastation after their healthy 3-year-old daughter dies from flu less than 72 hours after she began feeling unwell. And this is the story of Aisley McCarthy, a beautiful little 3-year-old girl who started complaining of symptoms just after Christmas, and in 72 hours, her parents were holding her in a wrapped up cloth at the hospital as she died in their arms. Very heartbreaking story. And it really disturbed me as I read this article and then went to the source link, which is the Des Moines Register. But here's what they had to say at Daily Mail. She began complaining to her mother that her legs hurt so much she couldn't walk, and in less than 72 hours she'd be dead at Children's Hospital in Des Moines, Iowa. And of course, the family is shocked and confused. They don't know why she contacted this and was dead such a short while later. But here's where it gets really interesting. Here in the Des Moines Register, healthy Iowa 3-year-old dies from the flu. Third sentence down. She was healthy and she had her flu shot, said Amber McCarthy, Asley's mother. The whole thing is unreal. And it is unreal. When you think about in this day and age, and we have all this medical technology, that a little girl could get a flu shot and then become sick with the flu, and actually the same types of flu that are in the flu shot, and then die in 72 hours. But what really angered me was a quote from the health department there in Polk County, and this is Nola Anger, who said, if people would get the flu shot, it can limit the severity of flu symptoms if they do get it. The shot offers protections for other strains. This is a serious illness and can affect healthy people. Apparently it affected this little girl. So they say in the Des Moines article that she came down with influenza type A and B. Well, let's look at what's in the flu shot. Here it is on the CDC website. Traditional flu vaccines called trivalent vaccines are made to protect against 3 flu viruses, including influenza A, H1N1, influenza A, H3N2, and an influenza B virus. So if you go back to the Des Moines Register article, you'll see that she tested positive for influenza A and B at the time she was admitted into the hospital.
This year, my main tip is to not get the flu vaccine. It's amazing how many people are sick and even the deaths that have occurred, because what they're doing now is they're using these trivalent vaccines that protect against 3 strains of the flu. And this year, the 2014-2015 vaccine contains influenza A H3N2, and it contains influenza A H1N1. That's right. They actually put the H1N1 in this year's flu vaccine, and influenza B.
Now let's look at what else is in the flu shot. This is from drtenpenny.com, the truth about the flu shot. It also contains egg proteins, including avian contaminant viruses, gelatin, which can cause allergies, polysorbate 80, which is known to cause severe allergic reactions, and also is associated with infertility in mice, formaldehyde, Triton X100, a strong detergent, table sugar, resin known to cause allergic reactions, an antibiotic, and thimerosal, mercury, which is still in the multi-dose viral flu shot vaccines.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. There have been widespread concerns that mercury-based preservatives in vaccines might impair the neurological development of children. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
So these are also the things that you're injecting into your children and into your elderly parents and into yourself if you get the flu shot, in addition to 3 different types of flu viruses.
Doctors told the family the cause of death was a combination of influenza A, influenza B, and sepsis. The family says before Saturday, Asley was perfectly healthy and had no pre-existing medical conditions.
And so the mother in this story, Amber, is left with no child and wondering why. She did everything right. She said she had her child vaccinated, she even got the flu shot, and this is what happened. It's still the same outcome. She succumbed to the virus that she was supposedly being protected against. That's because it really doesn't offer you protection. And you can read that on the insert. They just say that so they could get these people out there and get these flu vaccines into people. It's a money-making scheme. And what does it do? For most people, it makes them sick, which will then make them go to the doctor, which then they'll be prescribed more drugs. And don't take my word for it. There's countless other people out there that have done studies on the flu vaccine and its ineffectiveness.
They found that if someone, your neighbor or kids in school or anybody that you hang out with got the flu vaccine, that it can spread to other people for up to 17 to 25 days later.
So you need to look at this story. I'm providing the links below. You can read it for yourself. And you need to feel bad for this family, because they were caught up in the ruse. They were caught up in the medical industrial complex ruse that says, hey, if you get the flu shot, you'll be protected. But as we've seen time and time again, people who get the flu shot end up getting sick with the flu.
With regard to risks, there is no question, Campbell. It would be dishonest to say that we know for sure the vaccine is going to be safe for everybody.
Ronan was rushed to Dornbecker Children's Hospital in Portland. Doctors there tried to save him, but Burgess says he went without oxygen for too long and suffered brain damage that was irreversible. He died days later. She's sharing her story to warn others that the flu shot is not always enough to protect children from the H1N1 virus.
Her 9-year-old daughter was happy and healthy.
But just 3 days after receiving a flu shot, Mary Sue was paralyzed, diagnosed with a rare disease.
So what happened?
Just a few weeks ago, Amber had gotten the flu shot, but she managed to get the flu anyway. Within hours of Amber experiencing flu-like symptoms, she landed in the hospital fighting for her life.
I can't even read. I used to love to read. I love to sew and crochet. I can't do that now. That flu shot did me in.
I'm going to get it.
Yes.
If that helps at all, but I'll tell you, my wife is not going to immunize our kids. Because I've got 4 of them, and when I go home, I'm not Dr. Oz, I'm Mr. Oz.
So if you want to protect your immune system, you can check out all the products we have at InfoWarsLife.com, and I suggest that you do that. And if you do find yourself getting sick with the flu, you can do what I do, which is take our Silver Bullet product, which has definitely cut down on major sicknesses that I felt coming on. Took that, boom, wipes them out. But that's just my opinion, and that's just my personal history. Of course, you need to consult your doctor for anything like this. This has been Rob Dew for InfoWars.com and InfoWars Nightly News. If you are watching this on YouTube, please consider becoming a member of PrisonPlanet.tv. Your subscription can be shared with up to 20 people now, and we're having a great special to kick off the 20 years that Alex Jones has been on the air. So become a member today and help us take this fight to the next level.
Every year we make resolutions to lose weight and get in shape. And the truth is, it's hard, even with diet and exercise, because of toxic food and our environment that is stressing our bodies more than ever before. Working with experts in nutrition and biochemistry, I found that super high-quality nutraceuticals, in addition to my diet and exercise, were the answers that synergistically worked. I could see the drastic changes every day with the amount of weight I've lost, my increased stamina, and more of a twinkle in my eye. That's why we are now so excited to launch the InfoWars Life Resolution Pack, combining 3 essential formulations: oxygen-based cleanser Oxy Powder, the Secret 12 bioavailable vitamin B12, and your choice of super female or super male vitality. Now all available at a discounted price to you and your family to bring in the new year and make 2015 a true success. That's InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. 2015 is the year to do it, and it all starts at InfoWarsLife.com.
Yes, these men that hypnotize followers call this a new order. It is not new, and it is not order.
.com.
Driana Breton is a 29-year-old pregnant nurse from Pennsylvania who, after reading the package insert on a flu vaccine, she decided to dig a little bit deeper. And what she found gave her cause for concern for the health of her unborn child. Well, when she presented this evidence to her employer at the hospital for a reason to opt out of the flu vaccine, they decided to fire her instead. Driana joins us with her son, Weston, hiding there behind her. So Driana, if you wouldn't mind just briefly telling the viewers about what happened.
I found out I was pregnant the end of October. I had miscarried twice before this, and immediately upon finding out I was pregnant, I went to my employer, human resource representative, and told her I would need help. Hey, buddy. Told her I would need help in getting an exemption for the flu vaccine. They had started a mandatory policy that all healthcare employees receive the flu vaccine. And I knew that there were reasons for exemption, so I asked her to assist me in getting an exemption form, and was immediately told that if I did not receive the flu vaccine, it would be considered my resignation.
And so have you taken the flu vaccine before for work? Was this a policy that was just implemented this year?
It has been a policy of the hospital for the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The mandatory policy has been in effect. It was heavily encouraged before that, but I have never been in a department that it's been mandated for. So this is the first year it's been mandatory for me.
So did you think that it was going to be this big of an issue when you refused to take the vaccine?
Honestly, no. I had done my research on the flu vaccine, and while I agree that there's good purpose for the flu vaccine, the label itself says that it's not studied in pregnant women or in nursing mothers. in my first year as a nurse, I took care of a patient who obtained Guillain-Barré syndrome after getting the flu vaccine, which is a known side effect, albeit rare. It's a known side effect of the flu vaccine. So in my train of thought, if that can happen to a grown human being, what could it do to a growing fetus? And I am a healthy individual and take good care of myself, and thought it was more important to me. Sorry. It was more important for me to avoid the flu vaccine than to avoid the flu. And it's important to protect my patients as well. That's very important to me. And I offered to wear a mask during the whole flu season, which would protect my patients very adequately against the flu, and not only the flu, but other viruses as well.
And so how did you feel knowing that there was an exemption in place? There were other people at the hospital who were allowed to wear the masks if they were allergic to anything that was in the flu shot, or if they had a religious reason for not wanting to take the shot. How did you feel when they said that your concerns over your unborn child weren't valid?
That was very frustrating to me, and I had many people come to me and say, why don't you just say it's for religious reasons that you don't want the flu vaccine? And my response was, because that's not true. It is not a part of my religious belief or a part of my denomination that we don't receive the flu vaccine. I'm not against other people getting the flu vaccine, but this was important to me. This is what I felt was important to protect my baby, to protect myself. There are a lot of unknowns, and when I asked my doctor, what does this do to the baby? There are ingredients in the flu vaccine, such as formaldehyde and mercury. What does that do to the growing baby? I wasn't given an answer because the studies aren't done. So it was very frustrating to me that I felt like, and I had looked at several studies and had scientific research that I presented to the hospital saying, here's my reasoning for abstaining from the flu vaccine, yet somebody can come and say, I just don't believe that I should inject those things into my body, and that's okay. That was frustrating to me. That was very frustrating to me.
Right, you're bringing them actual scientific proof, and you've had firsthand experience with someone who had an adverse reaction to the flu shot, so you're coming from a very scientific point of view, which makes a lot of sense. It is quite frustrating. Do you think that they were trying to make an example out of you, or, prove something?
Perhaps. I don't know. I honestly don't know if other people were fired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that there were. That hasn't come to my attention. But I do... that was very frustrating to me. And I do understand their position in wanting to tell the public that they are doing everything they can to protect the flu, but I felt like I offered a win-win situation in offering to wear the mask for all patient contact, which would do exactly what the flu vaccine would do and more.
So now, obviously, it's the holidays, and they went ahead with their threat to sort of terminate you if you didn't go ahead and get the flu shot. Is it something that you would reconsider now? Would you get the flu shot at this point?
No. I knew the stakes were high when we made the decision to do this, and we made the decision as a family. We really believe we're doing the right thing and have faith that the right thing will happen for us. I don't know what that is, and it's kind of a scary place to be in right now, not having a job, and we depend on my income. We have a mortgage, and it is Christmas time, and it's also the challenge of going out now into the workforce, asking people to hire me and knowing that, I'm going to be leaving on maternity leave in a few months. So that presents a challenge as well, but I wouldn't do anything differently. I stand by my decision and believe firmly that I did the right thing.
And what did some of your patients say, or maybe some other fellow nurses?
I did not bring this up with any patients at all. So as far as I know, they don't know about it unless they've heard about it through somebody else. The nurses that I work with were all in support of me. I had so much support. I was very overwhelmed by the support, and I had a lot of people stand beside me and went to the superiors and said, we disagree with this decision. And so that was all very, very touching, at least, and to know that people were in agreement with me and understood where I was coming from.
And have there been any other nurses that you are aware of that have refused to take this flu shot for the same reasons, or?
No, not that I am aware of. I'm not. I've spoken with many nurses who have said, you know, I never wanted to get the flu vaccine. It's not something I've ever done before, but because it's a mandatory policy now, I was in fear for my job and I chose to get the vaccine. I've heard a lot of people say that, but ultimately the fear of losing their job is, you know, a greater fear than taking the flu vaccine.
Right, that seems to be the thing, that you should be more concerned with your job than your unborn child. And yeah, it might be rare to have an adverse reaction, but I would just hate for it to be my child to be that 1 in a million chance. I think as a mother, that's, you know, the most important thing you can do is be concerned.
Absolutely. I mean, then the minute you find out you're pregnant, you're doing everything you can to take good care of your body. And I'm very conscientious of what I'm exposed to and what I eat. And this, to me, isn't any different. I'm just making the best decisions I can make in the moment.
Exactly. Well, is there anything that you want to say to anyone out there that might be in the same position as you, that it might be something that's mandatory for them, or someone who is concerned about taking the flu vaccine?
Stand your ground. If it's something you feel strongly about, stand your ground, because this is a big battle to fight and people are scared of it, but it's not going to be fought if no one chooses to fight it. It's never going to be won if no one chooses to fight it. So I would just say, you know, just stand up for what you believe in and what you feel is right. And that's the only way that we can get our voices out there and possibly make a difference.
Exactly. We've got to reclaim the right to do what we want to do with our bodies and take control of our own health.
Right.
Not give that to someone else. Well, Driana, thank you so much for sharing your story.
My pleasure.
You guys have a great holiday.
Thank you. You do the same.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that is just an incredible story. I can't believe Driana, she could have lied. She could have said, you know, I file a religious exemption, or I'm allergic to this shot, but instead she educated herself, she read the package insert, and she brought all of that information to her employers, brought them facts to say, hey, I'd like to protect my unborn child. That's my #1 concern. And rather than lie and keep her job, she decided to tell the truth, and she was punished for it. And it's crazy. And there are still so many people out there that are in the same profession or in similar professions who are facing the possibility of losing their jobs if they don't follow through with a forced vaccination. So we really all need to just rally and stand our ground and support people like Driana Breton, who claim their liberty. We have the rights to protect our health and the health of our unborn children. So thank you all very much for tuning into tonight's show, and then tune in over the holidays because Alex Jones is going to be in studio sharing some of his favorite interviews from 2013. Now you can watch the Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.
In 2006, the CDC's position regarding vaccinating pregnant mothers changed. Traditionally thought to be an unnecessary risk to the unborn child, the vaccinating of pregnant mothers opened the floodgates for new avenues of profit. The willful ignorance of a mainstream medical community forced rapid learning curves for parents attempting to protect their children. Doctors and scientists have been left shaking their heads in disbelief at the recklessness of this policy by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
During pregnancy, they're wanting women to get a flu shot. The flu shot then will be the priming shot. It primes the baby's microglia. Then at birth, get a hepatitis B shot. Overreaction. Then at 2 months, what happens to the poor baby? Well, you go to the pediatrician and say, well, time for 6 shots. Now that child's getting 6 times as high a dose of just the adjuvant. Some of these vaccines have 3 different antigens in them. So now we're talking about dozens of immune stimulations, all in one city.
Somewhere in the fog, injecting doctors and nurses following their superiors' orders lost the moral high ground. Ethics, informed consent, and humanity was lost in the rapid unconscious push to blindly keep up with ever-increasing vaccine schedules written by compromised regulatory agencies directed by drug company profit.
And I've sat in a room with all of our on-call staff, physicians and practitioners, like, oh, wow, this is so embarrassing. This 25-weeker never actually required a breathing tube and going on the vent, you know, after he was born. He was so strong, but we gave him his 2-month vaccinations and he got intubated last night. Ha, 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 oops, how embarrassing. Like, it's funny. I mean, the step-down units are calling the NICU saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and give these 4 babies their 2-month shots today. Make sure you have beds ready because we all know they're going to have increased breathing difficulty, feeding and digestion difficulty, apnea, you know, forgetting to breathe, and bradycardia. This is what goes on.
Real journalism and voices for truth warning the public are historically low given what is at stake. The health of a new generation threatened by a massive PR push by news agencies who have fallen victim to drug company profit.
Then you have the press, which again is compromised. I spoke to a news division president this week. I breakfast with him, and he said that 70% of news division revenues during non-election years are coming from the pharmaceutical companies. So you have the press that has been compromised. They're the biggest advertisers now. They give 3.4 to 5 billion a year to press advertising.
The fact that your injecting doctor or nurse does not speak about or even show you the actual vaccine insert is a violation of the ethics and laws governing medical practice. This is an actionable offense. A look at the flu vaccine insert reveals, among other things, that safety and effectiveness has not been established in pregnant women. The unborn child and pregnant mother are the final phase of testing. This is why the CDC's own website states that they are continually gathering information on vaccine safety. Uninformed medical experimentation and the risk of harm are both intentional human rights offenses under the Nuremberg Codes and the Declaration of Geneva. In addition, doctors and nurses also violate numerous principles of the American Medical Association's Code of Ethics. It is a reasonable request to present the injecting doctor or nurse forms to sign acknowledging these points and assuming full responsibility for any damage their vaccination causes during the life of your child. The misplaced trust and goodwill of uninformed mothers is the last hiding place for drug companies. The deep pockets of drug companies will pay any price to keep their true nature and devastating crimes out of the public conversation. The mechanism of government oversight is now compromised and undependable. Years of expecting truth and safety from such organizations have left a generation of trauma and damage history will not be kind to. Education and warnings are rapidly spreading from neighbor to neighbor. The national dialogue has changed as communities activate collectively, understanding that the voiceless sidelines are no longer an option. The continued silence of the press and the lack of investigation is only serving to add more fuel to a focused, educated inferno.
And I'm letting you know that the black community, we are not going to stand by and let another Tuskegee experiment happen again. To me, we will never allow the vaccine makers to take advantage of our children who can't speak for themselves. So I say to you, let us stay united, let us stay united, and let us say no to SB 277. Thank you. God bless us all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an extremely important public service announcement update. Please take notes. Check out the claims we're about to make here for yourself so that you can protect yourself, your family, and those around you. This is so critical what's happening right now. There is a massive push across the world, a huge PR campaign to arrest people that don't vaccinate their children, to forcibly inoculate, to not let people travel, to publish the names and addresses of people that don't vaccinate as if they're pedophiles or something. This is a huge push, and this is happening right now because Merck whistleblowers and head CDC doctors and others are going public and saying the vaccines are linked to autism. We covered it up. And so you're seeing a huge push now saying measles, measles, you know, everybody's going to die. Take vaccines. They're safe and effective. No side effects, no problems. Arrest whoever says that they're bad, because this is an establishment meltdown. I recently interviewed Dr. Wakefield, his partner, top doctor when it comes to the stomach and intestines in England, has been exonerated and given his medical license back. And the court completely censured the British regulators that had basically lynched Wakefield and his partner.
What we're looking at is a system that is in meltdown right now, and they're in meltdown for a number of reasons. You can only sustain a lie, a falsehood for so long, and now that Dr. William Thompson, senior CDC scientist, has come forward and said that they have known for 13 years that MMR vaccine is causally associated with autism, and they have hidden it from the public, from doctors, from public health officials, from everybody. They've kept it to an inner circle of people who knew the truth all along and have allowed millions of children to be put in harm's way in the interim.
So you got whistleblowers from the inside the U.S. coming out and saying these vaccines are dangerous. You've got Wakefield, who they always say has been discredited. You know, vaccines are perfectly safe. That research was bogus. That's all a PR hoax. So they're doubling and tripling down with forced inoculations, with the claim that it's going to be the law that you've got to take shots, and they're adding hundreds of new vaccines. See, 30, 40 years ago, you only got 5 or 6 vaccines. Now it's over 50. They want it to be over 100. Autism's gone from 1 in 25,000 30 years ago to 1 in less than 60. It's projected by 2025 to be 1 out of 10. This is the big global crisis. This is about medical tyranny. Now, the big pharma complex is striking back. They've doubled and tripled down. We, the people, need to strike back, and everyone who has been vaccine damaged or whose children have been vaccine damaged needs to go to YouTube and other platforms and do a testimonial video. And I suggest you use your name, your information, you show pictures of your children. We need to warn others so that they understand just how dangerous this is. Because with my uncle that almost got killed with a tetanus shot, they told him, yeah, the shot did it. The doctors did. With Marcos Morales, our live news director, same thing happened to his child. And the doctor admitted it to him. But they want to isolate us. They want to keep us quiet. They want to arrest us. They want to publish our names and shame us like we're in a sex child registry or something because we're speaking out against vaccines or don't take vaccines. None of my 3 children have been vaccinated. And it's because I have so many friends and family who have 10, 15, 20-year-old children that are still in diapers, screaming and yelling in pain every day with incredible intestinal problems from the vaccines. And there's going to be more and more victims now. We've got to not just sit here quietly while this Holocaust goes on.
This is a do-or-die moment. It's absolutely crucial in the history of this country and indeed the world of who prevails. Who do your children actually belong to? And if we do not get William Thompson before a congressional series of committees that unearth the precise nature and extent of the fraud at the CDC and how they...
That's the big whistleblower.
That is the big whistleblower. Then if we do not do that, and if we lose this battle, your children, you, will be owned by the pharmaceutical industry, and your children and your children's children.
Slavery.
And they are simply a marketplace for those companies. They are quantified in terms of vaccination for every birth in how much revenue they will generate for the pharmaceutical industry in a mandated program for which there is no real recourse to any kind of compensation or litigation if your children are harmed. So they want to take away your rights as to whether your children should be vaccinated or not, according to your decision. But if your child is harmed, and vaccines are, according to the Supreme Court, unavoidably unsafe, then you are left to pick up the pieces.
The inserts are clear that it can give you diabetes, Guillain-Barré, narcolepsy, death, pancreatitis. Everything that we know is happening to the children is all in the insert. But the news will never tell you about these. Now, the reason we're doing this special report is
it hit me. I was back in the control room talking to Marcos Morales and others about the scourge of vaccines. He was shaking his head and he said, yeah, I really don't want to talk about this, but Darren McBreen says I really should. My first child, well, he's to tell you the story, got the vaccines. They gave her a whole bunch at once, and it was incredibly painful, and she got incredibly sick, and the doctor told him, oh, that's just normal. They don't even deny it now. And what's happening is there's brain inflammation, IQ is being damaged, and girls are tougher than boys, genetically. Any doctor will tell you that. That's why 80+% of the autistic children are boys. But he has daughters. So Marcos is going to tell you a story because he's reluctant, but he says he needs to do it. He wants to do it. He's a behind-the-scenes guy because he wants to warn you to know the facts and to not believe the mainstream media, the Brian Williams types. And then I want to challenge everybody out there, again, who's been damaged or who has had problems, to tell your story. Be heard. Say, we're not intimidated by Big Pharma and by the PR firms. We're standing up. We're taking action. And good people inside government and corporations are going public. And everything that Alex Jones and Wakefield and Dr. Blaylock and countless other people have said, it turns out, is accurate. I mean, even Harvard studies admit that fluoride's lowering IQs. But they don't want you to read the fine print, ladies and gentlemen. But they legally have to tell you this. But when you go get your shots, they're not offering it to you because it comes with the ampule itself, the multi-dose vial. So again, we're going to launch a whole initiative, and we're going to air some of these on air on the radio and TV shows so that other people will start a chain reaction of telling their stories. They want to keep this quiet. And that's why they know that people are waking up to them. So they're really pushing now. That's their answer to shutting down this avalanche of truth that's hitting them. Marcos, first off, you've been here on what, 3.5 years?
About 3.5 years, yes.
Well, you're
launch of the nightly news.
Well, you're a good friend of mine. I'm over here customarily ranting, but how could we not rant knowing this and seeing this huge push? First off, what do you make of all the stuff we're seeing in the media, the talk of publishing names, arresting people, the bullying, the terrorist tactics? And then tell us the story. I mean, your wife's a nurse. Tell us the story of your oldest child and what happened.
Well, one of the problems with the propaganda in the public these days is that it's turning a lot of people's minds into buying into it. I know people who are deftly against the transvaginal ultrasound when they were trying to regulate it, and it's under the guise of I didn't want the government putting something in my body that I didn't want there. And these same people are for forced vaccinations. And I would tell them, you can't take that out of your body. You're for the government putting something in your body when you can't take it out.
And this is the government being able to put in our body whatever they want in these so-called vaccines. And they've got liability protection. I mean, how creepy is that?
It's creepy. And my way to fight back, as you said, I'm reluctant to be on camera. I'm behind the camera talent usually, but
hopefully you'll spur others to have the courage because we got to stand up for these children.
My way to fight back was I would give people factual information. I would give them the articles with the studies, the data, and nothing really rang true with them unless my personal side came out. And then I would say, well, you know, when my first child came, the second time we visited the doctor, we went a little later than our date, so we were the doctor said that we had to put 4 vaccines in that day because I'd missed the other 2. And I was, I was a first-time parent. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't do my homework, obviously. And so I went along with it. And then that night, my wife was working overnights at the time, so I had my daughter by myself, and she just out of control, just started crying. Her eyes were bright red. Her head was on fire, and she was inconsolable for almost 3 days. And into the first night, her fever spiked 103.7. 104 is when you go to the hospital. I knew at least that much. And so I called around then, and I was told that it was fine, that it was normal. This was a normal reaction. So I had to get the doctor on the phone and tell them this was happening. My daughter is having this adverse reaction. The hospital says that's what happens when you get vaccines, and the doctor concurred. Yeah, no, this is a normal reaction.
Including death.
And I said, well, if that's a normal reaction, then I'm not doing that ever again to my child. She suffered for almost 3 days, inconsolable, to the point where she couldn't cry anymore. Her tears were dried up. her body was worn out, and she just whimpered and laid there. And
for those that don't know, when adults are given a bunch of shots at once, the military, I've talked to troops that have described it when they're given like 3 or 4 shots at once, burning, uncontrollable migraine headache. And that's why you see these kids. Rob Dew was telling the story. In fact, I didn't even tell him I was going to do this. Somebody go grab Rob, bring him in here. Because we're having these behind the scenes discussions that are so real, they would wake people up. He'll be at the playground and see like some 2-year-old flipping out, acting crazy, one of his neighbors. And they go, I don't know what happened. She's never acted like this, or he's never acted like this. And Rob goes, did you go to the doctor? And they're like, yeah, we went yesterday. Did you get shots? And they're like, how did you know? Because we know. And until a few years ago, if your daughter would have had convulsions, they would have taken her from you. Or if she had died, they would have indicted you because they do a CAT scan,
injury.
Blood on the brain. Your daughter had a huge autoimmune response. I'm not a brain surgeon. Dr. Blaylock is and exposes that.
Right.
I guess talking to his mic, Rob, but I mean,
it's the new normal now. You know, your kid's flailing on the playground, and she's kind of laughing about it, going, "Oh, we don't know what's wrong." And I just go, "Well, did y'all just go to the doctor?" She goes, "Yeah, we took her last week. She just got back from, she went to the doctor last week." Oh, okay. And I said, "Has she ever acted like that before?" "No, this is the first time she started acting like this. 2-year-old baby."
And you told the rest of the story. You asked about vaccines?
Yeah, well, and then I said, is she getting all of her shots? And they're like, oh, yeah, she's right on schedule. So it's the fact that the parents don't even see the connection between the bad behavior. Because she goes, she's never acted like this before. She'd just gone to the doctor, and this is what happens. I've looked at studies of people that said the vaccines are safe, and in the epilogue, the doctor writes, I've taken my first 2 kids, they both had seizures after the shot. But I'm going to take my 3rd one to get the shot, and I'm going to give them Tylenol beforehand. That's their solution.
And here's the deal, because these aren't vaccines. They're adding brain-altering systems, the anti-stress type vaccines that are viruses. We'll put the articles up that go in and actually eat part of the brain. This is population control. It's what's in ecoscience. And it's so big that they may win because it's so over the top. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with 1 in 25,000 having autism 30 years ago, and now it's 1 in 50-something? How do you deal with the magnitude of my mother almost died from a flu shot? They admitted. The thing is, you said the doctor said this is normal. See, that's the new thing, because they'll say on the news, no side effects, no problem. But you go, hey, doctor, it says it could make me have convulsions, destroy my pancreas, and give me diabetes. It says it all right here. And they're like, yeah.
Pneumonia? Pneumonia is one of the side effects,
Get measles from the measles shot. People spreading the measles. Most of them have had shots. And they'll say in the back of the paper, yeah, we don't know why people are getting the flu shot and then dying of the flu.
Yeah, of the same strain that they're supposedly vaccinated against. The same exact strain that they're being injected with, they die from.
In
and
psych
people
warfare,
don't see the connection.
I was talking to a globalist off record once, and they said, Alex, you understand. You think people adapt and evolve,
right?
Adapt, overcome, the military talks about, is a good thing. We use the public adapting to bad things, and people will go along with it. And he started explaining to me, basically laughing at me, when I was flying to New York once on a first-class flight to be on The View. And, I mean, I looked the guy up. He was like the head of a major bank. Not one of the big 6, but one right tier below that.
People don't understand this is a multi-generational attack. This is something that has been going on for about 60, 70 years. And they just keep, every year, they change the schedule, they up the dosage. And it's little bits, but we've seen, and it's happened really bad since the 80s, the late 80s, when Rain Man came out to normalize autism and make it seem like it's kind of cool.
And they normalized breast cancer.
Right,
yeah, it's up
cool.
4,000%, but we're having a run for it. We're not going to ask why it's increasing. It's up to you folks. Rob Dew can't do it all. Marcos Morales can't do it all. Alex Jones can't do it all. Kit Daniels can't do it all. Don Salazar can't do it all. All our crew back there, John Bound, Darren, we need you to tell your story, especially about the doctors admitting it. Because, I mean, my dad wouldn't vaccinate me, and he's an oral surgeon and a dentist and, has a degree in chemistry and all this other stuff. And he wouldn't do it because he said they usually don't protect you, even if it's a clean vaccine, and it lowers your immune system. He said, I would only take it if there was something super deadly like polio running around, and only if it was already rampant. But he goes, your grandmother got polio from the polio shot. So I went and asked her. She goes, yeah, I got it a month after she was given the shot, and then she got these strains she'd been vaccinated for a month later and is on crutches at age 89 today. So this affects me. My mother used to run triathlons. This was like 20 years ago. And they told everybody on the team, get your flu shot because we're having a triathlon come up next month. She was on UT Masters swimming. She was in bed for like 2 weeks. Just almost killed her. My uncle, Joe Jones, almost killed him. The doctor said, yeah, you had a bad reaction to tetanus shot. Face swole up, hands swole up. Everyone I know, I mean.
It's ridiculous.
I haven't had the flu shot myself since high school, by the way. And I got the flu every year in high school that I got the flu shot. And then once I moved out, went to college, never took the flu shot again. I haven't had the flu since. I've had,
the Canadian government study,
but never.
It lowers your immunity by 50% for an entire year when you take the regular flu shot. It's up to you to call into talk radio with your stories. It's up to you. If you don't know how to do a YouTube, go to your grandson or your neighbor or your brother. Do it. Speak out. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. I started 23 years ago trying to get on air. After 3 years, I got on air. Now I reach 20 million people a week conservatively. And I just didn't like them trying to pass laws that under 18 couldn't shoot guns with their parents, couldn't go hunting, that they were trying to take people's private property. I never intended to be on air. I never intended to do all this. I just went out there. And you can do it too. I'm not saying you want to go this far. Maybe some of you will go further. Just tell the story. And you know what? If vaccines have been great for you, keep it up. Just enjoy yourself. But at least read the insert, because I'll be in a restaurant and I will see someone with an air tank on being wheeled in that looks like they're about to die. And they've got people, and I saw this woman walk over the other woman. She goes, "Hi, how you doing, Blair?" That was her name. "Have you got your flu shot?" She's like, "Yeah, I got my flu shot." She's like 50 years old or something. Looks like she's about to die. And I'll be in restaurants. It's like a cult now. All these really unhealthy looking people. And they're like, "Yeah, I got my shot, Come on, I got heart surgery, come on." I mean, it's just, they just think they're getting something. And they're like, doing what's right, not going to get other people sick.
Herd immunity, herd immunity.
Herd immunity. The government, hello, is going to force stuff in us. It's going to start a civil war.
Yeah.
I've never called for violence, and I'm not calling for violence now. But it's violent to force something on people that we know hurts them. In India and Africa and everywhere else, they've caught the UN forcibly inoculating, sterilizing people. This is like coming at you with a gun, but it soft kills you. Okay? So I'm not for offensive violence, but I'm telling you, they want to start a civil war, this is the way it's going to be. And the media people, and the bureaucrats, and the medical people, and the Rockefellers, and the Rothschilds, and Bill Gates, up to this to his eyeballs, are trying to make this forced. McDonald's giving out the free, vaccines with Happy Meals. You are going to be held accountable. I know the Nazis got caught because they used guns, and everybody could see they were killing people. You just give us shots, and we go off and die later. No, we know, we're ringing the alarm bell, and we know what you're doing.
And I just want to say this. We're three dads here. We all have kids. And it's not that we're medical scientists. We're not professionals in the medical field. All we did, read the inserts, read the studies, read what other people have researched, and look at the connections. We're not doing anything spectacular.
The doctor told you it was the vaccine.
It was a normal response. And she came back, thank God. He was a lucky one.
Absolutely. If she'd have been a boy, probably, autistic.
Could have been.
Because boys can't handle it. It's so epic, though. I mean, it's so wild.
It's biowarfare. We're undergoing biowarfare in the name of these giant pharmaceutical companies to make us customers for life. Because when you're debilitated by these, you may not have autism. You may have severe allergies. You may have Crohn's disease. How many people out there have Crohn's disease who also got their vaccine?
And they never used to have that. No. All these new diseases. Pediatric cancer, over 10,000%.
It's all gut. It's all in the gut. And it's all attacking the
As
immune
Dr.
system.
Wakefield with the top gut doctor found. That's why they targeted him, because the government already had 2 studies in England, and they already knew and were trying to cover it up.
It's criminal.
He hit on it.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's all to protect.
My God, Watson, we have them. They're like, no, Mr. Holmes.
We have a lot more money, and we're going to destroy you. That's what they did. That's what they did.
He's rising like the phoenix.
Oh, yeah,
he's been
coming
exonerated. Here's what we need to do. I want to make this a featured video on the YouTube channel. I want it on InfoWars, Prison Planet, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's something super important, it doesn't get pushed. And I want this video to get out there. Folks, we can do it together. Tell your testimony, expose what's happening, band together, and let your doctor know. What my dad says is go in with a consent form to them saying they'll take responsibility.
Right.
When the school lies to you and says it's the law, see, they're liars, say, here, sign this consent form that you waive any liability for me and that you'll pay for everything. They won't do it. This is how you take down a society, how you medicalize the culture, how you make everybody sick, and then the socialist healthcare of government comes in, federalizing everything to basically reclamate and tear down the system. This is the military attack on America and the rest of the world. This is the heart of their program, and it's why they're pushing so hard right now. So get your testimony out today. Take action. Write articles. Post it on your Facebook, Twitter. However you want to communicate, get your stories out and keep telling them. Because I read on our YouTubes, people that have been damaged are just annihilating the trolls because they're like, hey, listen, my son's brain damage after the shot. They admitted it. And we settled in court. I mean, it's just bam, 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 bam. I mean, this is real. And this could bring down the entire New World Order.
Since the late 80s, Alex, the vaccine company, the vaccine court has paid out over $2.6 billion in damages to people. If they're so safe and effective, they wouldn't be paying out $2.6 billion. Okay? It's not safe and effective. It is a chemical attack.
Chemical bio warfare from the same government that used to just shoot the blacks up with syphilis straight away.
And dads out there, you're going to get this information. We have a lot more male viewers than females, and you're going to go up against your wives who are been programmed to accept the medical tyranny. You have to do your education and be patient. It does work. If you keep giving them the facts, you can turn this around. You can even convince your doctor that what they're doing
We
is
need to
wrong.
get serious.
I've done
I mean, people almost need to get FM transmitters that broadcast over a neighborhood and just run this in a loop for 5 years. No, I'm serious. I mean, we need to get hardcore with these people. Because when you realize all the secret testing our government did and how they set up the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute and said they'd put stuff in vaccines, Bertrand Russell, all of them, they're doing it. Yeah. They are really doing it. All right, folks, it's up to you. We're taking action as well. We're all together. Join us in warning the parents out there. I'm going to warn people all the time. I hear about other medical tyranny. We're going to start on a bunch of issues, getting people to tell their stories. That's how we're going to stop this evil. I'm Alex Jones signing off for the whole InfoWars crew. Please spread the word and get this video out to everyone you know, because truth is powerful. And as V for Vendetta says, ideas are bulletproof.
The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding and making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.